Automatically, I'm feeling
so
for the
awkward.
guy, like Kitchoff or something like that. The last guy standing.
It won't be Kitchoff.
I know, but I was just thinking of a big fat redheaded. But
This is the Aussie Rugby Show brought to you by Extra Hop Stops Breaches 84% faster. I'm Louise Ransom, joined as always by Drew Mitchell, Stephen Hoyle, Sean Maloney. Guys, we dragged you, Sean, away from Manly.
East. Yes. We're back in the East. I'm happy to be here, though, because we are here with the Bondi Breakers, who are a junior team, the smallest team in the eastern suburbs, under 6s through to 8s, and they've also got the composite under 9 team with the Breakers Wallaroos. So great to be here back in East.
They do good things for a small club. They're playing the same comp as Coogee, Clovelly, Bays.
Punch well above their weight.
Well above the weight.
Bondi people, you know. Well, not all hipsters. You know, fighting.
Just hard-working, that's what we are over here on the East.
Certainly. Guys, what got you from the weekend? Let's start with that, Stephen Hoyles.
Look, there's been a little bit of, you could say, turmoil over the years at Rugby Australia, but nothing compared to what's going on in Georgian rugby at the moment. That's what got me. The Vice President of Georgian Rugby allegedly...
I don't think you need to say allegedly.
Okay, he shot a player with a gun. He shot someone.
The guy's in hospital.
Yeah, the guy's in hospital.
Recovering well after surgery.
Well.
So VP Mirab shot the former Sevens coach for many reasons, Rames.
Yeah.
What was it over?
I think it might be budgeting issues. That's what I thought initially. Yeah, maybe
Seems fair.
extra night on a waitress, things like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Just imagine Rob Clark walking around RA with a shotgun going, oi, how's that bottom line looking?
I always thought playing in France, the Georgians were one you have to worry about, and maybe this confirms it.
What got you?
What got me was... Look, we didn't get to see Razor Robinson dance after the Crusaders won the New Zealand Super Rugby early this year, but we got to see James Slipper dancing when the Brumbies won. Yeah, up there. A couple of old dad moves.
Everyone's got their own style. I liked it.
Yeah, I loved it. He was up there on the table in the middle of the team, and all the players.
Well.
Yeah, just dropping it low. I see that a fair bit on Saturday night.
A lot of shoulder movement.
Yeah, there's very fair bit of momentum as well. Just getting around, so slips. You got me on the weekend, buddy.
He was hypnotic. You know what got me, team? Balmain, the Muzzled Wolves, champions at the weekend. We visited them. The Savers, we visited them the other week. Champions as well. We're leaving magic dust everywhere we go.
I do say we're at East Club tonight, Tuesday night, ahead of their big game against Penrith this week. They're not even training on Tuesday night. I mean, if anyone out in Penrith is watching, fire up. They're not even training this week because that's how...
No, but...
That's what they think they're going to... They think they don't need to train Thursdays to beat Penrith.
Excuse me. What we're big over here in the East is about balance. And the boys are down there at Bondi Public Bar, and they're doing some hard work there at the bar. Just, of course, COVID safe and compliant, sitting down, but smashing plenty of tins and getting to know each other. So in those hard moments,
they're
when
15 rounds
the
in,
emus are,
I hope Henry Schaaf sees this and gets the boys fired up for a game on Saturday.
You can't overlook
and John Mugler,
the
who's
importance
current coach.
of balance.
I like the idea too. Before we get what got you, Lou, we can agree that the Australia and New Zealand competitions are now done for Super Rugby. Time to flash back. Back to episode 4 of the Aussie Rugby Show. We owe this guy a little something.
Oh, here we go.
What we should do is we should all select one runner in that competition. Highlanders might struggle a little bit, so one of the other 4. And then if your team wins, you get shouted lunch. Like the other 3 have got to shout your lunch.
So there you go. We all owe you a little something, a little bite to eat somewhere.
I've changed my mind on what I wanted. We were talking about it before. We've all decided that instead of you guys buying me lunch, we'd just prefer you to get Botox one episode next week. Is that okay? Maybe a filler in the cheeks and a little bit of a puff in the lips.
Don't talk about it like you know what I'm talking about.
Just did some research.
Lou, what do you got?
What got me was seeing our Aussie Sevens girls around the place in NRLW jerseys. Hurt a little bit, but kind of pleased for them that they're at least being able to play some footy with the Sevens circuit not happening anytime soon. Charlotte Caslick in a Roosters jersey. Elliot Green's gone to the Warriors.
Varney Pleedy too. They're going to destroy that competition.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited about it.
I think it's great too, because a lot of people, I saw a lot of the comments in some of their posts just talking about, we're losing the girls to rugby league. Like the girls will come back to rugby union, to the Sevens program. I think the Women's Rugby League competition only goes over like 3 weeks long or something. It's a short thing that they'll be able to go, hone their skills, learn a new craft to some degree, but also keep them match fit and also perhaps even be able to earn a little bit of cash because the funding's been slashed there at Rugby Australia.
And
as
as
well.
Sean said when we spoke about it a few weeks ago, you hope that it actually shows, some league fans too, how good these girls are, drag their eyes back over to watching them playing sevens. That can only be a good thing.
Whoever is the first to line up against Elliot Green, good luck.
Look, you can look at all the other female contact sport in Australia, and you can hand on heart say New Zealand rugby is dominating men's rugby, but the best contact sport the best performing contact sport in Australia is by far and away women's rugby. It's phenomenal. Like it's played at such a high skill level and high pace, and I know that your Super W needs to improve and spend more and more time to get to that level. AFLW needs to do the same thing. They're behind the women's rugby, and I think that's what's so good about these girls going over. We'll get to see them play against probably the next best, which is the league girls, and I can't wait to see how they go.
And we may even get a few of the good rugby league girls come over and want to play and see how good these girls, one, prepared for the game, but also go out there and execute as well in a new sport. And it might drag a few of the better rugby league girls over to the sevens.
Super Rugby rocks and diamonds. The Brumbies champions of Super Rugby AU for 2020. It was a great game on the weekend. Let's start with diamonds, Hoylesy.
Oh, diamonds. I think the Brumbies winning. I think they've been the best side in Australian rugby for, 3 years now, maybe 4. They've been pretty consistent. I thought all along they deserved to win this title, but they probably dropped form a couple of weeks leading, so probably gave a few people a few concerns. But yeah, the way they've played over the last few years, I think they deserve to be champions, and the Reds, they did pretty well to get there and match for make the game really competitive. And what was, the competition was probably better than I expected. I really enjoyed it, especially towards the latter part of the year. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought the Reds did a really good job. I mean, it was just a great game. Clearly the two best teams were playing out.
It was a good game, mate.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose Patea, you lose Salakai Loto, you get Danguno in the bin for 10 minutes, and you're still in there with a shot at the back end. Like, you've done a decent job. They won't be satisfied with that, but it was, from a spectator's point of view, it was a good one. The thing I liked as well, one part that really got me a little diamond in that game from the Reds was, again, my boy Filippo Danguno.
Yes.
That little offload.
Offload.
The
dummy boom, just to hold on to it, bring it back in. Like, Fraser McWright owes him like a drink. Like, whatever his drink of choice is, I don't know what he does drink, but he owes him one of those, because how can you grasp that?
Yeah. How can you but how can you have the smarts to be able to even do the dummy? I've never seen that before.
No, the
Fiji 17, never seen that before.
Almost full extension to bring it back in and then go
And
again.
also to stay in the field of play as well. Like, he was like tightrope down there on the sideline.
You think he'll start test for the Wallabies?
Depends. I mean, I think they'll start Marika Korobete, but then I don't know if they might go safe and get like a Reece Hodge or a Dane
different
Halapetti,
style.
someone that's been there before, but go in. But I don't know. I'd like to see him out there. He's just a threat.
I think he's the form winger. Marika was fantastic, and there's no doubt about that. But I believe he was the form winger in the last 4 weeks, and he did play against Marika.
Yeah, I mean, Marika will start. He's a reigning Johnny Osmond.
I'd start both of them. Especially with the
that's a
right now.
spicy back three.
That's good.
If you've got Jack Maddox or a Tom Banks at fullback.
I know this is going to be one of your threes, Brock, but I liked Angus Blythe's hair.
Yeah.
I liked him riding Queensland on one
What
side
you
and
give
right
for-
the other side.
What you give to be able
REDS.
to put initials in your hair at the moment.
And he scored a
Fantastic.
try too.
And he
mate.
just smiles
so
the whole
smiley.
game.
He's just,
That-
Smiley
he's
Blythe.
permanently
That was
smiling.
disgusting.
You didn't like it?
No,
Hey, mate, if
second
there's
row,
one person
but
with hair...
I'm a winger. Like, you can't be like a hard man up front, getting around like trying to be this big tough
Well,
guy.
he does it. He
Some
just gets
stupid-
around smiling at people the whole game.
Yeah, but
I loved
I
it.
was actually really surprised that Brad Thorne didn't do something about it. Back in the day. Sorry about that. One of those guys. Sorry, I'm going to drink for that.
Buffalo, Lou.
No, it's left. But
I don't play that
back when I first started and Eddie Jones as a coach, when Matt Giddo used to have those, like symbols and whatever bleached in the side of his hair, and Matty Henjak, and they were known for having some pretty rank haircuts at that point. When they would arrive to Wallaby camp, Eddie Jones would give them one day to go to the hairdresser and get it bleached out or shaved out, and said no. And same goes for boots as well. If you had anything other than black boots at the time, he said, change your boots or spray paint them, because we're going to be known for our rugby, nothing else. Not stupid haircuts, not stupid coloured boots or whatever. And to the point where some players, sometimes you'd look at moulded or screw in, and you wouldn't, you'd make an assumption
decide
of
after
what ones,
warm-up.
which ones you're going to wear. and after warm-up you might change, and they might be white boots or something, and they'd have a spray paint can and just black out your boots just before you
One of the manager's job in the Wallet those years was to go around and black your boots before you ran out. Yeah.
Wow.
And it'd be playing on your mind. You'd be like, I've got to swap boots, but they're white, I've got to clean them.
The thing about it is, I remember that game of Angus Blythe more for his haircut than anything he did on the field. And that's the wrong thing. Well, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So it's really got him.
I've got two. He's worked up. That's my rock. I can see that. That was my rock. My other diamond, the return of Noah Lolosio. 6 weeks out, bang, straight back in, set up the try from your hand and was terrific.
And the difference in the game was probably the fact that he slotted that field goal with, 15, 20 to go? Because if the Reds go down the other end, they went to the corner, which their line-out let them get down. That's my rock, actually, the Reds' line-out. They kept backing it, but it wasn't delivering for them, so that was really disappointing. But yeah, Lolosio was fantastic.
I think that's just as much testament to Dan McKellar and the way he's been coaching this Brumbies side for a number of years, because they make changes throughout the year, whether it's in the front row, Slipper and CO, or in the back row, they shift that around. There's a bit of a rotation policy there. The back three shift around a lot. It's almost like they've got a structure and a way that they want to play, and he has faith in anyone to step in, fill their role. And it's not about having a superstar that needs to do more than everyone else and carry the team, and it's just about Noah going in there, executing his role, which he did really well on the weekend. But I feel like Dan McKellar's got that squad and the style of play of the Brumbies down to a T, where any player can just go in and only worry about their role, execute their role, and they're doing it well.
Tavita Kurandrani had a really good game, even though he was snubbed from the Wallabies squad. That was nice for him to have that sort of performance. And Rock's got to be Johnny Pataya, surely. Yeah. What happened to your voodoo doll, Sean?
I dropped it.
Yeah.
I dropped
Clearly.
it. I had a skinful on Saturday afternoon at Manly Oval, and I dropped the Geordie doll.
Afternoon.
Couldn't I have? Clearly, I've dropped it at some stage Saturday night. I cannot believe he's injured again, Luke.
No,
it's nuts.
Look, there's been a lot of players over the years that have gone through something very similar. He will get to a stage eventually where he works out his body and they work out his body. He's played a lot of footy. He's done a lot of things in a short period of time. Only 2 years ago, speaking to Sammy Courtney up there, like they had him in the Reds training program to just keep him training, so they wanted to retain him. They had no intention of playing him. He was just too good. They had to play him, and maybe his body isn't ready for what the rigours of Super Rugby and Test Rugby
because
often.
It's not just the playing every weekend, whether it's Super Rugby or Test. It's the contact sessions every session and getting in there. And as an 18-year-old and your body's still developing, it's still taking its shape. Like his body shape now will be markedly different in 5 years' time. Like he's still a growing lad.
As will ours, Drew.
In 5 weeks' time. But I mean, it's upsetting for him, and it's obviously it's tough coming back from one injury, let alone a series of them. But
he'll get his run. I'm certain of it.
How good was his pass to Harry Wilson as well? Scooped it up, nothing on.
If you only did this, if you grabbed all of his highlights from the last 2.5 years now.
Ridiculous.
It looked like he's played for 10 years. Like every game he plays in, he does something remarkable.
And it's a spark, just sort of from nowhere, and then has the amazing skills as well. It's awesome to watch. So hopefully he can just be on the mend and be right for the Wallabies.
Yeah, and get a nice little haircut before he gets back.
Moving on to some of the big stories, South African rugby is set to resume, which is great news in terms of the Rugby Championship going ahead. We all hope it will. They're going to have a draft on TV for like a Springbok trial match. That's pretty cool.
Oh, look, it's pretty cool. They're going to, two coaches going to pick their teams out of 60 players. But
this is a disaster.
Automatically, I'm feeling
so
for the
awkward.
Like Kitchoff or someone like that, the last guy standing.
It won't be Kitchoff.
I know, but I was just thinking of a big fat redheaded. But I like Kitchoff, and you're really good when we used to play against each other in Bordeaux and Toulon. But generally speaking, they were the last ones picked at school.
Keep going. This is brilliant.
You can be first pick now.
I feel for whoever it is going to be live broadcast around South Africa.
I'll watch it.
His last pick.
Yeah, so it's going to be like captain's pick from school. That's what we're getting at. Just two coaches.
Which could be good for some, but
I'll
brutal
take
for others.
Andre Pollard. I'll take
coach,
Cheslin Colby. I'll take so-and-so.
Yeah.
Who's left?
Who's the first picked? If you're one of the two coaches, who's the first Springbok you pick? It's a great
captain.
I'm picking Sia,
You take Sia?
I'd take Cheslin Colby.
Yeah.
I'd take Vermeulen.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a great game.
Daniel.
We should bet on who's going to be the first to be picked. Another
There's
lunch.
probably a market somewhere.
Another lunch. We should have another lunch.
Yeah.
Pollard's
Just
injured
top
at the
tight
moment.
on the list.
Pollard's
Yeah, okay. I'd pick him normally because he scores a lot of points.
Who's that?
Pollard.
Pollard.
Yeah.
Colby. Oh, man, that's a great game to play.
He's lighting it up.
healing
over
it.
there.
Yeah, what about his
man.
He's going to come back and play, is he?
Yeah, he's coming back, yeah.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. The Wallabies coaching gig, Dan McKellar turned it down. Jeff Parling is there. You'd be pleased about that, being the Rebels fan that you are, Helsing.
I've got to say, I think it'd be great.
Jeff Parling?
I think he'll be a terrific coach, and I'll tell you why. I spent some time with him up at Terrigal on the way through COVID, and he's a dialed-in dude. He knows a lot.
Yeah.
He has got such an enormous rugby IQ. I know that you would prefer it to be an Aussie, but he is very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, he's also only coached for 18 months. And we're putting a lot of expectation on a guy who's played till he was 34 and a half, and he's, 36 now, and he's coaching. So, yeah, look, I hope he goes well. And to be fair, he's done a really good job with the Rebels line-out defence, which is obviously one of the reasons he's been picked. But you would like to think if the Wallabies are trying to climb their way out of where we were after a World Cup, that we get someone that's tried and tested. Like, I don't know why Laurie Fisher's never got a gig. Maybe they've asked him, maybe he said no. The other thing with Dan McKellar, it's really interesting, and I went down to a session this year. Dan isn't hands-on with the forwards as much as, say, Rory Murphy or Laurie Fisher, for example. So Dan sort of is the head coach. He's done a fantastic job of overseeing it. So to get a head coach to come in and say, I want you to look after our forwards, which I'm sure he could do, but his area of expertise at the moment.
Roles.
They're different roles. Yeah. So Jeff Parling probably is the best hands-on forwards coach at the moment. The only concern is he's not an experienced coach.
Yeah, I also think exactly that point. Dan McKellar's probably not going to take up this role because it's his assistant's job, and he's building his portfolio to perhaps be the Wallabies coach one day. He obviously wants it. He applied for it, and if he's coming in to be an assistant, I think he wants to just keep doing more with the Brumbies. At the moment, yes, they won the Australian Super Rugby, but it effectively is the conference champions. Yeah. So if he can keep this squad together, because they're doing good things, and he goes into perhaps next year a full Super Rugby, we don't know what it's going to look like, but if he goes out there and does well with the Super Rugby team and actually wins a fully fledged Super Rugby title, then it starts to put a case together. Next time the Wallabies coaching job's up for grabs, then perhaps he could take that.
Do you know what I loved about the chat that I did have with him? I said, what's the first thing you educate a kid coming through around playing rugby? What's the first thing you teach him? And he says, I teach him to ask the question why. And I expect that of all my players coming through. I want to be challenged. I want, if I'm saying to go 2 steps forward, come back 6, I want someone to say, why have I got to go that many? He likes that to be challenged.
Which is often rare.
Talking to Adam Cooper about when he played under Wayne Smith, and many say Wayne Smith is the best that New Zealand have had. He's been with Hansen, he's been with Henry, he's been the reason why Dave Rennie was successful, or not the sole reason, but a big reason. Anyway, I asked Adam about playing under Wayne Smith at Kobe in Japan, and he said the way they talk rugby, he said they ask questions. The team meeting, the coaches are always asking questions, and he said, as opposed to a lot of the teams I've been in over the years, for 12 years, getting told to do this, be here, do that, he goes, they ask something, they get you to answer, there's constant input, so you're sitting there and you're always thinking,
Okay, Wallabies fly half position, always a much talked about topic, and none more so this year because it's pretty wide open at the moment. In terms of it's going to be someone new.
I think we'll disagree here, personally. I think I know what you're going to go with. Yeah,
I think James O'Connor will be the starting 10.
Yeah,
I think he's got experience. I think the way that he's matured his game, the way that he's steered the Reds around all throughout the year, he's an attacking threat. But the thing I like about his game, we mentioned it last week, is that he looks for others first. He's setting players up. I've also just watching it on the weekend. I just noticed like the length of his punting. It seems to have got an extra
goal
sort of almost 5-10 yards on it. He's just going down the middle and he's just hitting it a lot better. So I think also when you look at probably the inexperience that we're going to have in some of those key areas, and for lack of a better term, the spine of the team and the 9, the line out, at the back of the scrum perhaps, then you need some sort of experience, especially come calling, making sure you're steering the players and the team around the field. I think you need some experience. I think that's why James will get the nod.
We need to go through probably 3 or 4 fly halves between now and the next World Cup. I think the best 5'8" for us in 2023 will be Noah. I think by that stage he will be developing, and I thought he's been outstanding in limited time he's had this year. I'd be completely fine if he got the go, but at the same time, I think James is playing the most composed rugby of his professional career, and we've all heard the stories of why he's in that place, but you're now seeing it translate to his on-field performance. So I'd be happy either way, and I'd like to see them both get a crack, to be honest.
3 pyramids, it's the feature. Jock for me too. Definitely Tamura at 12. Tamura and O'Connor, it's a terrific channel. That'd be fantastic.
How do you want to see it managed? We saw so many changes sort of at the World Cup last year from game to game. Are you looking for that to stay the same throughout the whole Bledisloe and Rugby Championship series, or are you looking to give someone like Noah the go at some stage this year?
Look, I don't think we're in a position to say, because we're not seeing how they train, what the combinations are. At the World Cup, you know, it was Bernard, it was Christian, there was changes, and a lot of that was to do with the fact that guys weren't in form and they were trying to find players to play themselves in form. Christian, sort of history showed last year, he couldn't really play 4 top quality games back to back because of coming off his illness and stuff. So I don't want us to jump around for the sake of it. I think you've got to reward form, and I don't know. I'm really confused.
I think if you're going to give someone a go, you give them a decent amount of time off the bench. Don't just let someone come on with 8, 9, 10 minutes to go and try and close out a game or come up with something that's just going to change the game that's pretty much settled in its momentum throughout that 70 minutes. Just if you're going to give someone, if you need someone to have a decent amount of time in the chair, then get them in at the 50-minute mark. Give them a proper amount of time with players around them as well that aren't just sort of, because often also when reserves come on, they're also coming on at other times where there's also other changes going. So there's throughout the 12 minutes that you might get as a 10, you're having to stop and maybe adjust another 5 times for other substitutes that are going on as well. So it can be hard to settle, especially in that playmaking role. So I think if you're going to give someone a go, whether it be James or whether it be Noah coming off the bench or whoever it might be, give them a fair amount of time so they can actually get some time in the chair.
Look at the Tars example over the last 2 years. Look at how they managed Mac Mason, or they didn't manage him. They played him out of form, but look at what they, on the flip side, what they did with Will Harrison. He got better throughout the course of Super Rugby because there was no pressure on him. I believe he got told, you're the number 10, you're going to be the number 10 the whole year, go out there and improve and enjoy yourself. So I do like that approach of just backing someone and not feeling like if I up here, I'm going to be on the bench or I'm going to be out of the squad next week. That's a terrible, for a forward, that's okay because they play with a fair amount of vigour and aggression, but for a player who has to call the shots, you don't want to be playing nervous, you want to be calm. So yeah, I'd like to think someone gets a good run at it.
Hot off the success of last week's random rugby moment, Sean, you're bringing it back for this week.
I sure have, team. Things got dark on the webs for me this week. I went looking for Bledisloe clips, found some Harker stuff, ended up settling on a Super Rugby game from 2016 between the Rebels and the Bulls.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
This is the moment, and I don't know if you guys can remember this, but it is Warwick Gallant going kabam right in the backside of Yarn Surf and saying, no, I've got a replay here for you, Drew and Lou, no problems. This is full launch into the Rectus Maximus. I don't know if that's the official term, but Warwick Gallant gets up and goes, sorry, Chief, here it is another look. Just winding up full force, kabang.
What about him just presenting?
As the cheater
Here it is,
approaches.
your lovely circle, Drew Mitchell.
I'd say what, that ball nearly went up the rabbit hole as well.
The ball was almost as dark as Sean's internet search.
Kids, remember to clear history. That's all I'll say. Oh, what a great little random rugby moment from this week. And are we back again
So that
next?
was your Sunday and Monday?
Yep, and Tuesday for the early part.
Right, moving on. Aussie Rugby Show mailbag time. Let's dive into it. It's all brought to you by Extra Hop, Sean.
Visit extrahop.com. That's what I just wanted to say. I had to get it out in that dulcet vibe.
It's beautiful.
I'm already
That's
starting
what-
to search it.
Yeah, so are my fingers. Speaking of my fingers dancing on the keyboard, our first video question this week comes from an Olympic gold medal winning coach from Fiji, Mr. Ben Ryan.
Hey, it's Ben Ryan. It was my birthday last week and I had a peanut butter chocolate molten lava cake. It was delicious, so was the second one. But any more and I would have felt sick. That's a bit how I feel about box kicking at the moment and the amount of it in the game. I'd love to know your thoughts and how you would utilise it.
That's superb.
Bulavanaka, Mr.
wondering where
Ratu,
he's
Penny
going.
Ryan. Hates box kicks. Where do you guys sit on it?
Look, I love banoffee pie and hate box kicks also. As someone who was sitting underneath a box kick for most of my career, they're the hardest ones to catch. And I don't know, I just don't know if there's... I think they should be put back in the box and maybe shift it out. There's too much of it. There's other ways to get out of your own end. I think maybe with the 50-20s or whatever they are now, we could start seeing less of them. But otherwise,
Especially the slow ones where
Yeah.
it's taking forever to come back.
They do need to
And
change the
we're
law
hanging
when
Whether
it's
they do
four
like,
players
like the
lining
human
up.
centipede,
Yeah,
like 5 people do.
They need to fix that up.
That's dark.
Look, they're a necessary evil. I think at certain games you need to do them. Australian rugby needs to improve at it. Wet weather foot in particular.
I mean, there's a place for it, but just not as much.
No,
Maybe just the officiating around it, like you've got a second to use it.
Yeah.
Everyone's
So,
getting in there.
I'll
and
go
then,
back in the day. In 2014,
Box kick.
Nick White was the Brumbies halfback. I think he had 150 kicks in the season. They got third or fourth.
Bowl around.
And then Nick Phipps, same year, Waratahs win the competition. He had something like 9 kicks in total. So the Waratahs under checker were not allowed to box kick. They were not allowed to
That's
kick at
because
all.
it was Nick Phipps at halfback. He said you are not allowed to kick.
But what about this? The day after 2015 semi-final, haven't box kicked for 2 years. Like, we were in reviews, and the first couple of games early on, Brendan McKibben or Nick Phipps would have kicked it, and Czech would go, no, that doesn't happen. Our team doesn't do that. Day after season ends, Czech goes to the Wallabies, and then Stephen Larkham is coming into the Wallabies. The game plan completely changed, and Nick Phipps says, like, gets told you got to practice your box kicks, and he's like, that would have been nice to know maybe 8 months ago. And I might have punched out maybe 1 or 2 throughout the season.
And he's like, "Bertie, do you know if I kick off my left or my right foot?"
Weirdest pre-game ritual or superstition from someone you played with? Always like these sort of questions.
Yeah, we
They're
get this a
generally
lot, don't
pretty.
we?
Yeah, we get it a lot. But there was something over the weekend I saw on one of the social channels, just a little private one with Teniela Tupou, obviously the MVP of the Super Rugby AU. But it came up on his snaps that he was sleeping in a tent, and it was the morning of the GF. And I messaged him and said, mate, why are you sleeping in a tent the morning of a GF? Like, surely there's a nice, comfortable bed somewhere. He's on a decent packet. And he replied to me saying that he'd been doing it for a few weeks and been playing well, so he didn't want to disrupt anything and change his preparation. And so he sent some pics through, and it's like he's got this like Hilux, or it's not a Hilux, but it's one of those dual cab utes with like a bit of a tray and a tent set up. Like he's got to
like
get
a
up.
ladder
Like he's
entry.
up a ladder. Like I go to the bathroom
I already feel sorry for the
twice a
ladder.
night. Yeah.
Straight away.
But he
That's a
takes
sturdy ladder.
and
Right?
the
Takes his
base.
dog.
his little puppies up the top, just up there, just having and he seems to be in like the bush. I'd be worried about snakes. Like, but
Maybe that's why
That's
it's
so
so hard.
Taniela.
I mean, it's
Isn't
good
that
prep.
just so Taniela?
Don't ask questions.
it works for him. So
does.
good on him.
MVP,
But
you're right.
that certainly surprised me, knowing that the MVP of the Super Rugby AU sleeps in a tent the night before a game.
Okay, thanks to Poulet's Picks on Instagram for that one. I don't know whether that's his actual name, but we'll go with that. Let's move on to another question. Best club rugby player you've seen or played with who didn't break it into the next level? Hoylesy, that question comes from Gus Barnett, also on Instagram.
That's a great
Okay,
question.
so I've only just thought of this now. I was going to go with Dwayne Hare, who ended up having a big career in France, but I'm going to go...
Back rower from Ramley?
Yeah, back row, second rower.
Yeah.
Hurt people
He
for
had
fun.
spiders on him.
Yeah.
trying to play
But I'm
against
going to
him.
go with Lee Tamiki.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought Lee Tamiki, gun, schoolboy, like played, 2-3 years Australian schoolboys, was exceptional. Actually grew up with the Smith family. George and Tyrone Smith grew up in their house.
Yes.
They kind of adopted him. But he just got stuck behind Phil Waugh at the Waratahs. Then he went up to the Reds, had some injuries. But at club footy, he was there 1 year, and just it was a year that his side Randwick won, and he was exceptional at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with Damien McAnally.
Yeah.
Fullback from back in the Canberra Vikings days. I think he played a few games for the
Brums
Brums and
games,
stuff, but he was just so dominant in that Queensland Premier, because they were coming up to Queensland to play in the Queensland Premier League at the time, and the Vikings alone, they were dominant, but he was just carving up anyone that was in front of him. Any sort of counter-attack, he was dominant, and otherwise it would be, look, I don't really know the guy's name, but he played for Eastwood, he was the bus.
Christian Keresiano.
Yeah,
Yes.
Keresiano.
Yeah.
No, he was very good.
Yeah, he was
So
just
we-
ad line every day, all day of
The
the week.
theory when playing against Keresiano and Sean Byrne was number 10, Sean said, listen, he's going to run over me and he'll do it every time, but I'll just trip him as I'm on the ground. So Lee was the number 7. Lee, you just sort of jump on his back, and then the next person, so it's basically like just cop the bus front on, fall over and just try and knock him down, and he'd be slowing. And so we just had to tackle him while he was slowing, but he was phenomenal, yeah.
We played him one day down at Manly, and Nathan Gray was our centre. He doesn't miss tackles.
No.
And he would chase the bus around.
Yeah, he never misses the bus.
Come here, bus.
Well done.
He'd be lined up opposite him in a scrum, go, come here, bus, and he'd just chop him over and over again. Still from Eastwood, Pete Miller. If Pete Miller was born
Yes,
10,
Pete
15
Miller.
years later, he would be a 100-game Super Rugby player and fringe Wallaby, I'd say.
Probably in the last 20 years, top 3 Australian sevens players of all time,
Yeah.
easily.
Freak.
Well, Luke Barrow, big fan of the show, always sending in questions on Twitter. Really appreciate it, Luke. This one for this week. Does the panel have a dark horse to start in Bledisloe 1? We're only a few weeks away.
Oh, we're going to need a couple of seconds here, Sean.
I'll go Lockie Swinton.
Swindon?
Ooh, that's a good
Swinton at
shout.
6, just to try and match that physicality of the ABs.
Yeah, just to go.
That would be a dark horse, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would
No
think
one
so,
would be-
yeah.
would be
I would pick someone from outside the squad that has been named so far, and maybe it's going to be tough asking him to come back and start in 3 weeks' time, but maybe someone like a Will Skelton, someone that's outside, maybe one of the coaches' picks to get into the squad.
I'll go with you on that, and I'll go Rory Arnold.
Yeah.
I think because he's so close to the current side, I think Will, being away for a few years, probably won't feel an attachment as much. Rory will probably go, I really want to play for that team because that's where I finished a few months ago.
Yeah, fair enough.
Interesting to see what they do with those 2 picks that they get.
Well, 2 picks, but perhaps even more with over 60 caps as well.
True, yeah.
Could
There's
be more than
options.
2.
That's it.
Yeah.
Very good point, Drew. Well, that's us wrapped for another week. Thanks so much for your company. Don't forget we're a podcast as well, so get around that. Hoylesy, you're all across that, aren't you?
No, I'm not, Lou. I'm having lots of iTunes issues, passwords,
It's a good
the cloud,
listen.
family
Very
show.
complicated.
Can't ask them to do it if you're not doing it.
I
a
watch the
bloody
show.
good listen.
I watch the show. I don't need
You're
to
on the
listen to me.
show.
Yeah, no, podcast. I'm not really a podcast.
Speaking of watching the show, one of the comments landed in YouTube's last week.
Don't
calling
read the comments,
No, you
Sean.
shouldn't,
Don't read them.
but I will read them when they involve him. And someone called you a herb bra.
Mate, yeah, someone said looked like I was blazed.
Yeah.
A few weeks before it said that I was a
What's
player.
blazed
I'd been in a good paddock.
KFC lines?
The
Someone
only
said
depth
you
I
look
know is
like
KFC lines.
Casper
But
the Ghost.
I have a confession. I was taking offence to that pie eating comment. I was reading that when I was hungover, and I had 2 pies delivered from Uber Eats. So whoever said that, well, you're on the money, well done, but I'm not a blazer. Don't do that shit, so up yours, whoever you were.
On that note, we'll see you next time.